E. John Teichert.
In 1921, the United States Army Air Service completed something that had never been done in human history. On a day during that year, they linked up two biplanes airborne and passed aviation fuel from one to the other. They did so for a couple of reasons. The first was to prove that concept. And the second reason they did so was to break world records, which they did 2 of on that day. On that day, because of the connection providing power from one aircraft to another, they broke an endurance record, flying an airplane longer than had ever been flown. And on that same day, in that same flight, they flew further than they had ever flown before, breaking range records. Because they recognized the power of staying connected to the source of the vibrant energy that enabled one to succeed. I'm an F-22 test pilot and fighter pilot by background, and I'm going to share something with you that a normal, self-respecting fighter pilot would never admit. Even in an aircraft as capable as an F-22, we couldn't achieve the mission if we didn't regularly connect to those larger, slower air refueling aircraft that give us additional endurance and additional range. And in fact, it is that connection to the source of our power that enables us to accomplish our mission. Similarly, Edwards Air Force Base is an absolutely incredible and historic institution that continues to make history today. But if we don't stay connected to the source of our power, this vibrant and thriving community, then we can't accomplish our mission. And frankly, the 10,000 or so men and women that go to work every day at Edwards Air Force Base, military, government, civilian, and contractors, none of us could get the job done and achieve our mission without you and what goes on here in the Aerospace Valley at the center of the aerospace testing universe. We are your neighbors, we are colleagues, we are friends. We so deeply appreciate being a part of a thriving community that is breaking barriers and making history every single day. And let me give you a few examples of the power that you all provide in such a poignant way to us. First of all, our world-class civil military organization. The group that at every turn, when our airmen and their families need something, is there for us to provide help, support, recommendations, and resources. And we so deeply appreciate our civil military organization that is second to none. Also, I see a wonderful bus over there from the Antelope Valley Transit Authority. Absolutely, round of applause. What you may not know is just a couple of weeks ago, on our request, they started providing commuter bus service to our men and women commuting from Palmdale to Lancaster to Rosemont and on to base and back every single day. Now giving them another venue for travel, an avenue to commute, and ultimately a way that is a better use of our environmental resources, thanks again to the power that you all provide to us. The Palmdale Regional Medical Center, just a couple of weeks ago, opened up a new urgent care facility in Rosemont. We don't have 24-hour medical care on base at our clinic, and on our request, they opened up a clinic in Rosemont. Obviously for the residents there of that community, but also to make sure that our residents are better able to get quick, urgent medical care. And again, it is because you all are providing us such an important source of power for us to get the job done and the mission accomplished for our nation. And maybe the item that I'm most excited about is the collaboration that we are actively working on now to work between the LA County Air Show and Edwards Air Force Base to make this not just a good or great air show, but a one-of-a-kind, world-class air show. And what we are working on, frankly, is to, in part, bring back an Edwards Air Force Base air show. We've been absent from that business for 10 years, and I'm embarrassed by that. And so what we hope by working with our LA County Air Show partners is to, when they have their air show every other year, for us to provide 100% full support, including a STEM exposition that is second to none. And then every other year for us to host the air show at Edwards with full community support. And we're doing those things because they're important for inspiration, and they're important to encourage, and they're important to educate. But there's another reason we're doing those things, because this place is indeed at the cutting edge of science, technology, engineering, and math. And the world needs to know that. And if you are a smart, educated individual anywhere in the world that wants to come work on cutting edge technology, then we need you to move to this valley, because we need your talent down at Plant 42, up at Edwards, or anywhere else around this community. This is Aerospace Valley, and this is the center of the aerospace testing universe. And we need to bring back a world-class air show conjunction with the community so that we can brand appropriately and attract people that we need for the workforce in this valley. Those are just some examples of how you are providing us the power we need to get the job done. But all the while, we hope that we are providing you a level of power as well. We just looked at our economic numbers over the course of the last few weeks and have recognized that last year we provided $2.2 billion of economic activity to this valley. That is our economic impact. I already mentioned a workforce of between 10 and 11,000 people, by far the largest workforce anywhere in the region. I also recently looked at some numbers on how much we invest in small businesses. And in 2018, we invested in $164 million in small business contracts, and frankly, the vast majority of those contracts are right back here to our small businesses in the valley that keep this economic engine thriving in the Aerospace Valley at the center of the aerospace testing universe. You may not know, we're also the stewards of Plant 42. We own that facility as a government-owned, contractor-operated facility, and we provide airfield operations, safety, security, and logistics that make sure that that economic engine in this community continues to thrive. We also very proudly, about a month ago, hosted our first ever Community Partnership Summit on base. And we had 50 or so organizations represented, where we are now actively finding ways to collaborate with the community for our mutual benefit. All of those areas are areas that we hope we're providing power back to this thriving community, because you need it and we need it, and if the Aerospace Valley is going to continue to thrive, then we must work together. All the while, our mission is fairly interesting up there at Edwards, as you probably know. I don't know if there's a slide that shows a particular flight over Dodger Stadium that I'll talk about in a bit. If there is such a slide, please bring it up. But you undoubtedly have read that America's next air refueling aircraft is now operational at McConnell Air Force Base in Kansas and Altus Air Force Base in Oklahoma. And the testing of that next generation air refueling capability happened at Edwards or by members of the Edwards team elsewhere. Just a couple of weeks ago, we made the first connection here at Edwards over the skies of the Antelope Valley between the F-35 and the KC-46, a pairing that will last, importantly, for our national security for decades to come. Next week, we expect the B-2 to start getting certified in aerial refueling connections to the KC-46, and a couple weeks later, we expect the same from the F-22. Just one example about how America's next generation bomber was shaped and molded here in the Aerospace Valley and by the men and women at Edwards Air Force Base. You probably also noticed recently that it was publicly announced that America's next generation bomber, the B-21, will be tested at Edwards Air Force Base. America's next generation trainer aircraft, the Trainer X, will be tested at Edwards Air Force Base. And undoubtedly, the next time we need to test a new fighter and a new unmanned aerial vehicle, they will be tested at Edwards Air Force Base as well. We continue to do some important F-35 testing at Edwards. In fact, we're in the middle of something called Initial Operational Test and Evaluation. And we are in operationally realistic environments, day by day, flying the F-35 alongside of our Navy F-35 partners and Marine Corps F-35 partners, all of which are stationed up at Edwards, and our British and Dutch and Australian F-35 partners all stationed up at Edwards, to make sure that that next generation fighter is as capable in a realistic warfighting domain as our nation needs her to be. We just finished down here at Plant 42 by the men and women at Edwards Air Force Base, testing the F-15 Saudi Arabia advanced aircraft. America's largest ever foreign military sale, $30 billion. Again, tested by the men and women of this valley and of Edwards Air Force Base. I talk a lot about the center of the aerospace testing universe, and I talk a lot about the Aerospace Valley. And I've mentioned a lot of aero, but not a lot of space. But I want you to know that there's plenty of that going on up at Edwards Air Force Base as well. In fact, a few years from now, when American astronauts finally go to space and return on American equipment, they will return back in the Orion space capsule, which we have been recently testing out of a back of a C-17 and employing the parachutes to make sure that those Americans returning back on American technology from space are safe. Similarly, we also want to ensure that we are safe from intercontinental ballistic missile threats coming from various parts of the world, including the Western Pacific. And there are treaties that prohibit us at times shooting test missiles towards anywhere on the globe, but we have the option to kick 70,000-pound intercontinental ballistic missiles out of the back of our C-17s out over the Western Pacific, launched towards the United States, so that we can test our missile defense technology to make sure that no matter what situation and no matter who may harm us, that we have full assurance that those missiles will be intercepted by our American technology, again, tested by the men and women at Edwards Air Force Base. Similarly, we're working on testing for autonomous systems and artificial intelligence, hypersonics, fifth-generation aerial targets, counter unmanned aerial system technology, and all of that is going on at Edwards Air Force Base and here in the Aerospace Valley in the center of the aerospace testing universe, because we're connected to the power that you provide to us. The picture obviously isn't available. What you may see, and we'll post it again on our website so you can take a look at what I'm talking about. During the World Series, we had one of our mobility aircraft fly over as a part of the national anthem flyover, and it is a breathtaking picture out of the back of that aircraft of one of our airmen holding an American flag, looking down at Dodger Stadium and reminding all of us that our reach here into the community goes even beyond this amazing valley, down into the LA basin, and frankly impacting around the world. And what you won't see in that picture is some of our airmen down there on the field holding that large American flag as a part of that ceremony. And what you won't see on that picture is some of our honor guardsmen from our base standing tall holding the American and Air Force flag as a part of the Joint Color Service Team as a part of every single World Series game that took place down at Dodger Stadium. And that's just another way where we are integrated into this absolutely amazing community that provides us power. And then, when you go to the movie theater, maybe on the 8th of March to watch the new Disney movie Captain Marvel, you will notice that the lead character, Carol Danvers, is an Air Force fighter pilot and test pilot. And you will notice the proud test pilot school patch on her left shoulder. And you will also notice some of the scenery is familiar because they filmed a large part of that movie up there on Edwards Air Force Base. And before you watch that movie in the next couple of weeks, you may see advertisements for that movie. And a couple of days ago, the entire cast, including Jude Law, Brie Larson, and Samuel L. Jackson, was up there at Edwards, filming with our amazing aircraft behind them, obviously to advertise for that movie. But to us, it's an advertisement of our base and our service and the Aerospace Valley in the center of the aerospace testing universe. And then even further, when you watch that movie, you will see an Air Force advertisement that precedes it as one of the trailers. And everyone who watches that movie worldwide will see that same trailer, and it's an advertisement for the United States Air Force. But not just any advertisement, but an advertisement that contains 80 female aviators, all in one place at one time, from second lieutenant to two-star general, with a backdrop of aircraft that could only take place, and did indeed take place, during a filming a few weeks ago at Edwards Air Force Base, with an amazing backdrop, not of the sunrise as they had planned, but the one foggy day in a decade, an amazing dense fog. And those 80 female aviators look tough standing in front of those aircraft in the fog. And all of that should make you proud, not just because we're a base and you're part of the Aerospace Valley, but because we couldn't get any of that done without the power that is provided by this thriving, vibrant community that is indeed and should be known worldwide as the Aerospace Valley and as the center of the aerospace testing universe. Thank you so very much for providing us that.